So timestamps exist in case you just want to skip forward, but otherwise we'll just pop right into round 2 after reviewing the runner history. So it wasn't good for me. I think I got at most like 3 or 4 3-win entries, and then that was pretty much it. And yes, I could sort by win rate here, but I go in and just show you the win rates anyway to just give you more of an idea. Vodka won the only 2 that were actually quite competitive. By quite competitive, I mean good team comps, obviously UG rank with stats, you know, all higher than like 800, 900 across the board. And then also, again, as I said, like I said, comps running 3 to 4, 3 front runners and a 4 or 5 plus front runner lobby means that Hope Daiwa Scarlet keeps up, but sometimes in the case of the vodka here, you get late surger stuff. So perfect corner connoisseur into Furious Feet, or into straightaway XL at the end with Slick Surge, Professor of Curvature right at the end as well, maybe with the tail held high right before the final leg, so on and so forth. Things of that nature happening are what you hope for, and then you do your best. But other than that, my skills are not, completely set up right. And yes, as I always mention, please run Wits build if you can. I just choose not to because one, I made a conscious decision not to scout for Wits supports cards, knowing that with the RNG I had, it would probably not go well anyway. And with the few Wits cards I do have, that's not to say I can't do it. You can do it without SSR Fine Motion. It's really painful though if you're unlucky. But yeah, I've tried some Wits builds. They are Wits training, and it does not work well for me, which is why I went through the Guts Brute. Now, it's a bit overkill, but I was feeling particularly lazy. That's why I'm using the free-to-play pretty much 2 stars into 3 stars now, because I've been playing since a little bit after Global released, but shrug, nothing much else to say. Hey, someone's trying to El Condor Pasta at the end here. So, as we take a just quick look, yeah, again, this perfectly fine for winning, especially if the skills exist. So, we just hope for the best and hope for the best. Is this a front, or is this... Yeah, this is a front. 5+ front lobbies tend to be really bad for me, or 4 to 5+ front lobbies. They just... If the fronts are built well enough, which is kind of a crevice, I've seen some frontrunner lobbies that don't do as well, but if they are done well, late surgers have to hope, end closers almost always lose, and then pace chasers are my one anchor, which I hope that they catch up in time, because usually it's the 1 or maybe even 2 frontrunners, mostly just the frontrunner in front. I mean, that's the whole spirit of the role, that gets far ahead and then just stays ahead and stays first until the end. If I can go through this timestamps. But otherwise, yeah, as usual, I think the bane of my existence is Seiyun Sky and Kita-san Black, of course sharing each other's uniques, but when they're in first, it tends to work really badly. The only reason I would win a Seiyun Sky or Kita-san Black in that case is if they misfire all their late velocities, and then I run into a dueling perfect proc on skills. That's literally the only times I've personally seen myself beat comps like that, whether it's a front runner, pace chaser, or a late surger. End closers, whatever end closer reaches up towards the end, unless there's a misfire of final velocity skills, shrug, right? I haven't been keeping track of the skills, because all I'm really keeping track of is like 450 meters from the end, which is where the final leg about starts. So right around here, we want to see a lot of velocity skills proc right here. Corner connoisseur a little bit early, but I don't know if that's actually better or worse than a second later. But here is where we want to see it. Here's the angling and scheming, so hope that we proc all the accelerations. We do not, so there goes the Seiyun Sky. So now I did have something planned for cases like this, but sometimes I just can't get the training done, so shrug. Bad things happen. But otherwise... Oh, by the way, I was going to say this is going to be a 2-win entry. Again, first entry of the first day is usually what I like to stick with. So as we try to run it down, it gets really close, but not close enough because we did not proc enough skills when we needed to in the final leg. So, yeah, without further ado here, we'll move on to our next race and hope that we... Well, you preferably want to get to A finals, if for no other reason than the 3rd place equals 1st place B, but... if we can't, that's what the other entries are for. If I were to guess for content's sake, 2-win entry. So, oh my goodness, we'll see. But yes, a lot of the Guts build, in my experience, has been hoping for a dueling proc. It won't be until, I don't know how much later, but basically later that you can tune in to how other Musumes do. That way you can see if they, whether they get rushed, late started, other things. You can see some of the skills obviously on the top right, but there is going to be a point in which we get to see more than that. So, without further ado here, no fronts, just a lot of paces. Someone's going to get lucky and the others will not. Taiki Shuttle in first. That actually has gone badly for me in terms of just, oh, they're in first. They're not going to proc unique, and then weird things happen, and they just shoot forward. I think it's only happened twice. Once, I don't remember. It was one of the middle CM 5 to 7, and then the other one was later on. But yeah, see if Taiki Shuttle gets lucky pace. If we get lucky pace as Daiwa Scarlet, I don't really mind, but that still means a lot of weird things can happen, especially when shooting for victory just passes us up, and then you see the Taiki Shuttle launch forward. Same with the other Musume in this lobby. It's not like I'm only focusing on the Taiki, but so I've lost to more Taiki Shuttles than Oguri Caps. Yeah. It's near half and half. I would say it's near half and half from what I recall. Although I'm pretty sure, Oguri Cap is Oguri Cap, like regular Oguri Cap, I mean. So, but when I say Oguri Cap, for the first time in this video, I meant both Xmas and regular. Although regular, from what I've seen from other trainers, works better than Xmas. So, shrug, right? But otherwise, Speed Eater into a unique proc would help out well here. Prepare to pass a little bit early, but it's here that we want to see if we proc the unique. At any point, literally, but here would have been perfect. If not, no dueling. Dueling? Okay, cool. Off we go, and then we get our little fake triumphant pulse here, but it's Resplendent Red Ace. It's acceleration plus velocity. Into head-on, so even further acceleration into a dueling vodka and gold chip early on, dueling at the end for Daiwa Scarlet, so we stay in first because no one's running 1200 guts here with over stamina, so shrug, right? But the question is, which of the three win? It's gold chip. Oh my goodness. Why do I even... I would still prefer Turf S. Oh my goodness, frozen. But yeah. To mention, if you didn't ever see and you just skipped to here for some reason, Daiwa Scarlet has Turf S, Mile S, and then Goldchip and Vodka just have Mile S, which, fair enough, they're gonna accelerate anyway as backliners, but shrug, right? Like, every little bit helps. I forgot what the exact ratio of acceleration is for ground style, but I'm shrugging as I say every little bit helps, and sometimes, if the late or ends end up just passing you, they pass you, even though you're like, oh, I got S in every aptitude. It's not the whole story, obviously. There's skills and stat distribution, but hey, we're just gonna skip this, by the way, because yeah, we've already seen this, so hopefully we get to see the end here and get drop kicked. But again, really, in the overall thing, let's just keep saying it for posterity's sake. We're just waiting for the finals. In this case, I should be in A finals. It would be really odd not to. However, there is a subset of trainers who train well and just still... It's probably like at tops 2% of trainers. And when I say well, your strategy and training does make a difference. It's not like, oh, I'm UG, but somehow I don't get to any of the finals. That's probably not going to happen. But maybe it happens to a few trainers. It is RNG is RNG, so shrug, right? Especially if you RNG into lobbies that are quite strong. But as we get into this lobby, we'll look at the Digiton and the Taishin. So yeah, good enough. Like, I see 2 to 3 accelerations, even if they're white, whether they're unique or white, doesn't really matter. And then a kind of hybrid-ish Taishin, but it's Nemesis Taishin. It's Taishin, Nemesis. Sad things happen to me, and if skills don't proc, skills don't proc. There's always that part of it. When skills don't proc, and the other person procs their skills, especially at opportune moments, you're gonna lose. So, hey. So that's what I mean if I get to A finals and I get into a strong lobby, I'm just going to call 15%, because that's really what it's called. Also, this is a no front lobby again, so, I would rather see this because it means late surgers and end closers can catch up. Yes, that means other trainers, end closers, and late surgers can catch up as well, but I do far better in a lobby with no fronts than a lobby with 4 to 5 plus fronts. I know, again, I've mentioned this before, I could only really train with 2 or 3 plus fronts in practice races, especially because obviously team-based PvP modes are set so that your debuffs can't hit your own Musume on your quote-unquote team for practice races, but as we get Speed Eater here, again, we're going to get debuffed as well. I'm just going to expect it, so we're a bit of a disadvantage if everyone else procs their debuffs on my Musume, but shrug, right? This would have been perfect pump, but oftentimes I find my gold chip not in the correct position anyway, so I gamble on not being in the perfect position, like being in 5th here. So, Corner Connoisseur, pretty much as good as I'm going to get. There's a Daring Strike. Happened a little late. I think the timing is a bit earlier than you'd want for that, but as people start to zoom forward, so will Dia Scholar, and so will Gold Chip when she duels like that, so Daiwa dropped to 2nd for a moment, but into dueling, so shrug! But, yeah, without further ado here, Vodka nowhere to be seen, because, again, at least for my late surgers, or at least for late surgers in this CM, for me, Vodka doesn't work out as well. But when they get lucky, as I said earlier, they get really, really lucky. So here's our 2 wins that I predicted. Am I going to get more and call myself wrong? Well, let's find out. So, shrug. But yeah, I can see where the end closer frontrunner versus comes from in this specific track. We'll just say track, because it's not even Champions Meet. Maybe you're doing something off game with other trainers, or maybe you are just doing Champions meetings. You're really looking at the track. Of course, there are also the conditions of the Champions Meet, like cloudy, spring, summer, summer fine, so on and so forth, but shrug, right? So, without further ado, we'll take a quick look. Yep, looks good enough. There's a swinging maestro, but, I mean, even if it's a team trials horse, I've seen team trial horses win here, so shrug, right? And yeah, that's a Taishin, so... Again, I'm not being disingenuous by saying that. Trainers do train well when, especially if I were to stop and look, but it is what it is. So as we get into this race here, let's see what happens this time. There is a Kita-san Black, so I expect her to have angling and scheming, and if she stays in the lead there and has like thumbs width on my screen, then I just assume she's going to win. So it would take a lot of perfect procs to even challenge that, but that's what I mean when it takes... Oh, and also what I meant earlier when I said Seiyun Sky and Kita-san Black are the bane of my existences. Rush doesn't matter, late start rush doesn't matter if you proc your skills perfectly, unless you're in like a long or a stamina race where you're worried about your stamina. You don't really, I don't really care about it, but other people should, for good reasons here and there. Especially if your Musume rushes herself into a position that just ends up getting her blocked. So, early Corner Connoisseur for Vodka, so Vodka's kind of out, unless she procs everything else at the opportune moment. Otherwise, looking at Gold Chip here, at least being in 6 means I take Pump away for a moment, but doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Corner Connoisseur a bit early for my liking, but let's see. Into Velocity, so never mind, that kind of makes up for it. 3rd into 2nd would be great here, but otherwise, Corner Connoisseur straight away spurt into head-on, dueling. Okay, we should be able to take it here. This Gold Chip is zooming forward. I can just look up at the screen, and off we go. Whee! But whether or not we stay in front, because I don't have a lot of finishing velocity skills, unless they're like random mid-lake procs, shrug, right? This is going to look a little close, but I don't think that Taishin's Guts, if I recall, so... 1200 Guts Taishin on Taishin there would have gotten that. But at the same time, if you have to trade it for 1200 Wits, I wouldn't say so. But I'm not, like, again, let's disclaimer here, I'm not some kind of magical veteran. I've had some experience in Musume, but it's not the end-all be-all. I'm going to call... probably like 30 to 40% minimum things wrong. But that's a learning experience for me, so hey. Hey, someone ran sweep here. I'm going to look at that sweep. But as a person who likes to run end closers, if possible, if not just Gold Chip, I do want to try and pick up the end closers. However, I'm doing still at most 1 or 2 scouts per banner, so shrug, right? But yeah, that looks pretty close. I mean... literally, if the stats look right and you have some 2 to 3 XLs minimum, then anything can happen, right? Mihono Bourbon. I've lost to a fair share of Mihono Bourbons. Not as much Summer Maruzensky's. I don't know what it is about Summer Maruzensky. But, yeah, aside from Summer Maruzensky, I'm pretty much scared of every front, but it's primarily Kita-san Black and Seiyun Sky, so... And to mention here, basically, if I had the freedom to run hybrid debuffs on all of my Musume just because I want to, it would be just a bunch of frontrunner debuffs. I hate... I hate it so much. Not because I can't do it. I could probably try to run front runners if I wanted to, but I think my worst experiences have been with front runners, whether I'm using them or other people are using them. Now, when I'm using them, it is more my fault anyway, but shrug, right? But that's not to say that pace chasers, late surgers, and end closers, I don't believe objectively they're that far worse. But I do see the powerful strength of a good front runner comp, whether it is just a big... denial with the runaway Suzuka or runaway other Uma Musume later on in the future into 2 front runners or just 3 front runners and just fighting for distance. Shrug. But as we reach the end here, we need all the velocity skills here. Professor of Curvature, probably until we get to the acceleration skill proc phase. Diva Scarlet looks the best here, but Shrug, right? Yeah, it's really, really bad for Gold Chip. Gonna have to hope for Vodka or a, dueling into head-on here, but it's still gonna be close because there are a lot of people catching up, so Shrug, right? Vodka's being blocked, everyone, all the pace chasers are just in the way, so... a cut and drive here I don't think is enough unless everyone misfires, including my Diva Scarlet. So, without further ado, we spin Red Ace as a kind of Triumphant Pulse, and hey! Pseudo Triumphant Pulse. I said fake, I should say pseudo, because it does still provide its uses. But, that was a lot more wins than I was expecting. So, without further ado, I mean, I'll take it. I think this is the best entry I've had so far in this Champions meeting, so Shrug, right? But without further ado, as the end screen will probably come on screen here, I'll do all the entries on my own and into the finals we go. So, which is where we're really what I'm really hoping for at least. But I hope especially if you're playing Uma Musume and training, you do well. Otherwise, don't let it be said that, especially with someone who has some time into the global server, that you can't just run free to play Uma Musume and do well. You will do well if you train well, and then. Yeah, you train well, actually. That's really just the biggest factor. Agnes Tachyon here for time trials, but I really should get ready for the next Champions meet. And yeah, off I go. So yeah, without further ado, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, definitely advice, because, I'm not the best, but you know what to do. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!